something.
Yeah, it says live.
There we go. So if you're watching this on the replay, what you're seeing right now is just as simple as a 15-second lead-in for ads to play, some other BS to go on, and otherwise, if it's 7 p.m. Central on a Thursday night, that means you found yourself in the CarrGuy and SixFan show tonight. We have a special guest, and we'll get to him in a second, but I'm your host, Grant Tommy. I am straight SixFan, which means I'm SixFan of the operation. This guy over here is...
I'm Jason. I am the CarrGuy of the situation, and welcome to the CarrGuy and SixFan show season finale with our very special guest. We're going to let him introduce himself in a minute, but guys and gals, if you don't know where your pets are, lock them down, because Mortske Repair is in the house. Go ahead, Tom. Introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you.
Well, my mom always said I was special, so you must have talked to her before you guys brought me in here. Anyway, yeah, I'm Mortske of Mortske Repair. So here we are. I don't know. I don't have a good lead in. I'm not witty like you guys, or have a.
That's all right. You'll make up for it in the midstream. We know that for a fact. So, but before we get to our first question for you, Tom, we'll just take a quick moment and kind of read through the chat, see who's joined us tonight. It looks like Roy Marco's Garage, Coastal Auto Reaction, Glutton, King Eric the Greatest of All, and Auto Addiction, Nancy Kitzinger, and I think a few others, Mechanics, Binder Off-Road, Will's Wheels. So the usual. Jason, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, so I guess we're just going to start jumping right into here, Tom, with some questions. And one of the things that I've that drew me to your channel was you were doing a lowering kit or lowering on I think it was Chin's truck, the square body, and I was just kind of following that up because I had just done one on mine. But one of the things that I know about your channel is that there's no acting. There's no gimmicks. There's no scripts. There's just Tom. What decided to make you do videos and put yourself in front of people and open yourself up to the public?
Yeah, I guess I've always been the class clown, the dink, whatever you want to call me. But I guess I got a pretty big local Snapchat following. I'm always sending stupid videos of the stupid things that I shouldn't be doing, and I get a lot of people that aren't even my friends trying to add me and stuff, and I had a couple buddies saying, yeah, you should do that or whatever. And then I work with Chin, whose pickup we lowered, and he's had a little bit of editing background and kind of had his own YouTube channel for a school thing, and he's he bought a couple of used cameras and was like, I'm just gonna drop them off at your place, just throw something together, I'll edit it, and you set up a channel and we'll put it out there. And that was 13, 14 months ago, and we just made a video of cutting some park brake cables off, because I'm like, you fix park brake cables when you live in an area where the ground is flat, you just take the old death wheel and cut them off, and things have escalated a little bit.
Escalated quite quickly. It's a relatively young channel, only about a year old, maybe 14 months or something. But I think when I look at your channel, Tom, and I think I stumbled upon your channel through your grain truck videos, because I have this obsession with old grain trucks. But just looking through, your whole gamut, you've obviously done. What I love about your channel is it almost doesn't matter what decade. It looks like you've got maybe a 30s International behind you. You've got 64 International, 75 Mail Jeep, 77 Dodge Monaco, some 50s stuff, 40s stuff. So I guess what I'll ask you is, of all of the cars that you revive and you work on, do you have a favorite decade?
Okay, a decade. All right, you're gonna go to a decade. I hate it when people ask me my favorite car, because I don't really have one, and it varies significantly from day to day. But I would say that I like to drive my stuff. So as far as drivability, this stuff from the 30s, it's just not reliable. You can't get parts. The steering sucks. The brakes suck. I mean, you get all the looks, all the thumbs up, but without completely revamping the suspension and drivetrain or whatever. But I would say the 60s, that's when, the overhead valves had been around for 10, 15 years. You started dabbling a little bit in power steering and power brakes. They weren't the greatest, but then, they're big cars. They float down the road. I got a 68 Dodge short bed, 62 Chevy short bed, and then like my 71. I like pickups because, you know, it's just me and Duff, so he can jump in the back, he can ride in the front. That's why I like beaters too, is because I can take my dog with. I can go up down a gravel road. I can pick up a curb on the side, or pick up a couch on the side of the curb and haul it home, you know? So, I mean, yeah, I would say the 60s, just because, you know, a lot of the parts carried over, you know, small block Chevys and automatic transmissions finally got to where they're popular and stuff like that. So yeah, probably the 60s.
And I know on your last live stream that you did kind of solo, you had talked, somebody had asked you about, you know, what your background is, and maybe some of the people who are here don't know what that is. What is your background as far as education go, and how does that tie into, you know, doing revivals or working on cars?
Yeah. So, I guess, you know, I took 2 years of like VOTEC in the afternoon. Like we jumped on a bus, like, you know, there's only 30 kids in my class. I'm from a pretty small town. So there's like 30 of us of, you know, juniors and seniors. And we took automotive, and, you know, they offered other classes like welding and carpentry. And I did that. I grew up, my dad is a mechanic. This used to be my dad's shop before he put up one way fancier and bigger and gave me this rundown little tiny piece of crap. But so yeah, my grandpa runs a truck shop, or ran a truck shop, and now my uncle runs it since 1946. So I mean, my parents didn't pay for daycare. They were just like, go hang out with grandpa, go to an auction sale, tell him not to bid on any garbage. And so I was like, we're gonna buy that, yeah, you know. And it was like, so I did that, and then you know, I kind of wanted to do that when I got done with school. And my dad's like, no, he's like, you're gonna get an education, you're gonna get a real job, you know. And I told him the whole money isn't everything, and he kind of laid the smack down. I'm glad he talked me into it. But so yeah, then I went to mechanical engineering. I took mechanical engineering, the South Dakota School of Mines. Went out there and met a lot of my buddies out there, and found a lot of really nice dry cars. And you know, that's kind of what put me through college. Was we had lab days and just went out and bought old car parts and picked them up, took them back. And that was like when eBay was just kind of in its infancy, and sold those. And that's what, you know, kind of put me through college. And then I graduated with a mechanical engineering degree and did the design engineering thing for probably just about 10 years. And now I'm in a product service manager for a compact equipment company. So, I mean, yeah, I've always been mechanically inclined and just really love doing this stuff. And you know, the revivals is, I mean, that's what I love to do. Everybody's like, oh, restore it. And like, I grew up, my dad always had nice cars, and all we did was wash them and store them and cover them up and sit by them and polish them, and hated it. So, yeah. Uh-oh, I lost sound.
You got no audio there, Grant, for some reason.
Oh. No, I can hear you, Jason.
Yeah, I had mine muted, but he was talking and his isn't muted. So while he tries to figure that out, maybe I'll just jump into the next question there. And you had mentioned that your dad was into the polished cars and the fancy paint jobs and stuff like that. But one of the things that I do admire about watching your channel is that, you know, you go out and you buy the cheap, old, whatever, hunk of metal, whatever it is, as long as it's got an engine, you're going to make it run. And the fact that somebody else may look at that and only see it as a $100 or $200 car, but now it's running, right? Now it's running. Maybe now it has brakes, and that's what you've done. So is your goal to continue just to do that, buy them, get them running, flip them, make a few bucks?
I mean, I hate it, but that's what gets views, you know. I just, like, I want to, like, a car is never done, but, you know, like, I probably got a fleet of 12 cars that I've got on the road. And I was just talking to Chin today, and I was like, man, I got to like shoot a video of just like, I got 2 cars that need radiators. I got 1 car that needs an exhaust manifold. I got 1 car that needs tires. I got 1 car that needs a carburetor. And I got that many more cars that like I want to keep, and I got to get on the road. And I'm like, we got to like shift the channel to like more towards the project stuff. Like I still have a lot of the vehicles here that, you know, we started, like I got a lowering kit that I got to put in that 70 GMC long box. I got new tires, brakes, tune up, everything for that GMC ramp truck. I mean, I got a bunch of parts for that Ford Bronco to put in there. And I'm just like, how do we like creep these back into the channel? Cause because it sucks, you know, like we've done some of those fault, like the ramp truck, or not the ramp truck, the cab over truck. Like I had so much time into that thing, and I would just kind of do it on the side while I was doing these and cranking them out, and a lot of time, and like then the video just kind of flopped, and I'm like, oh, you know, it's like, and it's sad, you know, because that's really what I love to do. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love doing these revivals, but at the same time, like I got a fleet to maintain, and I want to ding on the stuff that I got. So there's just not enough hours in the day, like my buddy says, you know.
Well, and you don't want to be known as the one trick pony too, right? Like you got to get out there and do some other stuff. And some guys will look at it and say, hey, you know, I'm going to make videos that get views, and that's all I'm going to do. But like you said, sometimes it's good to have a little bit of a mix in there. That's where the lives come in. We talked about that before we went on air.
Yep, exactly.
Well, hopefully, I don't know if you guys can hear me now. I don't know what happened there.
You're back.
All right. Well, I had to switch over to the webcam, Mike. But yeah, no, it's the other part there, Tom. You know, since you are deep into the revival scene, for some reason, I mean, that's just what's hot right now. And it feels like, you know, at some point the bubble has to burst. Like it can't go on forever. And so, you know, you mentioned something that's super relatable for all of us. You think you've knocked it out of the park with the video, and then it's like performs at like 10% of what the usual is. And you're like, okay, well, that's a great reward. So anyway, I guess what I'm getting at is, so I mean, what would be your ultimate, you know, if you didn't care about like you just script it the way Tom Mortske wanted, what would the channel be about then?
I mean, it'd probably just be a reality show. I mean, kind of what it is, you know, it's Duff and I just doing what we do. Like, you know, like I'll be on Facebook Marketplace or somebody will just randomly call me like, hey, I got a 67 Chevy 4-door out back for $300. And it's like, we just open the safe and grab $300 and jump in the pickup and trailer and head down there. And that's like my favorite thing, is just going around and meeting these people and scooping these cars up. And, you know, I hate when somebody's like, hey, I know where this guy, he's got like 100 cars. Those aren't the guys I want. I want the guy who's got like 2 or 3 sitting in the weeds. He's got that 37 Ford out there. Because you go to those guys with 100 cars and they're asking full retail. And, you know, what I'm doing here, like, you know, I make a couple bucks on the side, but I can't pay full retail for a 63 Chevy Impala SS. It's a basket case, make a video, and then turn around and try to, you know, come out on it. I gotta, you know, we're gonna lose the shop, so I gotta make enough money to pay for that. But no, that's what it would be, is just me and Duff and our random daily, like, I mean, you know, I got a lawn to mow, so the lawnmower's back there. I got a square body Chevy that I'm putting patch panels in that I don't know if it's going to go on the channel, because I know square bodies are hot, but like, I don't want to watch somebody put patch panels in. But at the same time, I mean, Jason, it's like you probably watched 10 videos on guys putting patch panels in before you did yours. So it's like, I mean, I don't know. It'd probably just be a reality show of Duff and I dragging garbage home, rolling in deer poop, because that's what we wanted to do tonight.
He's pretty good at it.
Oh, yeah, he finds it all. He's got a good nose on him.
Well, and the guy with 100 cars that you were talking about is typically a hoarder. And so even if you did, quote unquote, strike a deal, the guy still doesn't want to let go of it really anyway. And so it's really probably not a fun experience going to the guy with 100 cars anyway.
No, and don't get me wrong, like that. I'm going to have the 60 Ford wagon video finally come out on Monday. And I got that from they were, had a yard and they were closing doors, and, you know, they met me and some of my buddies and gave us a smoking deal on some cars. And I think I drug like 12 cars out of that place. You know, I mean, it's the right place at the right time, but yeah, usually if there's a guy who's got that many cars, they're going to fix them someday, or they want full retail, or they're just complete garbage. And you're just like, yeah.
Well, one thing too that when you first started doing your videos, you would actually go out and you'd see the car. I think one of them was the I forget what year it was, but the Plymouth Suburban wagon. You know, you went out to the field and you kind of did a video showing it off and this and that, and then when you finally got it back to the shop, you know, you did your thing. Like, do you see yourself doing any more? You talked about reality TV, but do you see yourself going out into the field and kind of doing the the show right from the start of the purchase to getting it home and getting it driving?
Yeah, and it's so hard. Like, that was an auction sale, and like I see guys walking around at auction sales with cameras and like filming it, and I'm not gonna name names, but I'm like, how, like, and they get a bunch of views. I'm like, how can you? I had to sit at that auction sale for 6 hours, and I was ready to. Anyway, but the other thing is, that was an auction sale, so I didn't want to do that and I loaded it up. And the other thing is, like, so say I buy a car from you, Jason, I don't know you from Adam, and I'm like, okay, so, and it's usually older people that I buy my cars from, because they're old cars, and I'm just like, hey, do you mind if I put this camera in your face, So if anybody tells you that, like, American Pickers, for example, isn't staged, I can tell them where to stick it.
Bull crap.
Because every old guy that I know, like, I talk to a guy ahead of time, and he's like, yeah. And then I get there. Oh, look at you. You're just pulling it in, Jason, up there. What do you got going on behind you? All right, meow.
I'm just a magnet.
But, so, like, I've been trying to, like, film when we get them loaded or, like, do a walk around. And then, I don't like getting people in, like, I got people that are just like, hey, can I be in a video with you? And you're just like, those are usually people you don't want in the video. And then I got people like, man, you'd be great in the video. And they're just like, keep the camera ain't really my deal over there. But so it's tough. And, like, I know some guys do like the whole field thing, and it'd be great, but I got a day job and I got to pick up in a trailer, and it's me and Duff, who's going to pick us up on the side of the road. So, like, let's winch the sucker on and get home and bring it in here. And I mean, if we're going to lose the shop, we're going to burn it to the ground in here. So, I mean, when we lose the shop, then we're going to be doing, revivals on vans that we're living in down by the river. But anyhow, yeah. So, yeah, we're trying to get some more field footage. And the other thing is, you're picking up these cars and you're like, a kid who just got a new bike or a baseball bat, and you're just like, yeah. And you're not thinking, oh, let's film it. Hey, what do you guys think of my new truck here? Whatever. You're just like, woo. Got to show it to all my friends. Drag it to town and see if city council can send me a letter on what day is that? Thursday. Anyway. But
well, yeah, I mean, just in general, even though it's like it never fails, like if I'm comfortable behind my camera, the minute someone else is there and they're not, like, either they seize up, they're not really like reacting, they're kind of awkward, it's like it becomes a train wreck pretty quick. And then to your point, when you're talking about like loading cars up, Jason and I know we can relate. Like, it's the task you do out in your garage that should take 3 hours actually takes 4.5 hours when you're filming it by yourself. So I've never had to go rescue a vehicle from a pasture and winch it onto a trailer by myself, but I can't imagine you want to be like, hey, let's stretch the 6-hour event out into the 8-hour event, so I can film it. So, but as you're talking about a trailer and going to pick up things, like, what would you say your average, like, what's your radius or your most common, like, how far out are most of the builds you find?
So, like, last year, like I said, a lot of those cars came from about 3 hours away, 12 of those cars. And I put, like, so I have a diesel pickup that's, like, basically just hooked to my trailer all the time. Because when you have 12 pickups, why would you unhook it? But so my late model pickup with cruise control and air conditioning just stays hooked in the trailer. And I think I put like 7,000 miles on in like 40 days in that pickup. And that's like, after hours and weekends. So, I mean, I bought 43 cars last year. So things, this YouTube thing took off, and I was like, oh, I got to have content. That's a good deal. And a buddy's like, hey, I found these cars. And then somebody else was like, hey, we got to go to Montana. So, I mean, most of my stuff is probably within 150-mile radius for the most part. But, yeah, we drove into Montana, and I think that was like 7 hours or 8 hours one way, but something like that. It was just into Montana, but it was a pretty good jag. But, I mean, I try to stay, relatively close, because you got to figure that cost in there. So, I mean, that's a whole day on the road that I can't be working on something else, or, I can't be doing whatever. And that's, if I'm not working or filming, I mean, if you're not making money, you're spending it, the way I see it. So
it goes right back to your comment earlier that you're cheap, and you
Yes.
won't spend an extra $50 on a car, but you'll travel 8 hours to get it, right? So You got to save the
It's
gas
all about
money,
the
the fuel.
experience for us.
Yeah. So,
and there again, it's going new places and you're meeting new people, and like, Grant, you're talking about like going to, you're talking about your family vacation earlier, and like my family vacation is Duff and I going to Montana, meeting a new guy, dragging a couple of vehicles home, and like I've had so many subscribers or like watchers that reach out to me like, hey, I got these cars, and I mean I could literally go a new place every weekend. And like Iowa Classic Car, Ryan, he was here last weekend and picked up a car, and we like went and looked at some more while we were up here. And I mean, that guy is like every single weekend he's somewhere picking up a car. It just snowballs, people telling you stuff. So yeah.
So you said you went to Montana, so that was, you said about an 8-hour drive or whatever from where you are. Is that the furthest you've gone for a vehicle?
We picked up a late model. This is like 8-9 years ago. We picked up a late model in Dallas, Texas, flew down, drove it back. I bought a 29 Ford Phaeton. Me and my dad, my dad and I hate when people have improper English. My dad and I,
Grammar police.
Yes, we made it. We went to Upper Peninsula, Michigan, and got that. And we went to the Jefferson swap meet on the way out, and kind of made a deal of it. And we made it to like like an hour and a half away from home before we like were at each other's throats. So it went pretty swimmingly.
Well, I did want to just say thanks while I get the chance. CP, the Tool Addict, gave me a $10 super chat, and I think earlier is Robert's Garage, a $5 super chat. So thank you guys for your support. We do enjoy doing what we do, and this does nothing but help us. So keep us going. Tom, going back to the earlier question about all the different decades you've touched, one of the videos that I really enjoyed was you just did a breakdown of I-beam axles and early Ford, just kind of like, hey, what to look for, this and that. Because ultimately someday I really want to get into the rat rod scene. So that was I really enjoyed like how informative that one was. What possessed you to even make the video, I guess?
So, going back to an earlier question, like, what do you see? Like, what do you like? This is what I like. What I love. I love like 30s Fords, 30s, like 32 to 40 Fords is what I really like. That's that style of hot rods, flatheads, banjo rears, 3-speed top loader transmission, stuff like that. That's what I grew up around. Like my dad had a 34 3-window with a flathead in it, and we spent many hours on the side of the road swapping starter Bendexes or waiting for it to cool down. But that's kind of what I grew up around, and I can't afford a 34 3-window, so I pick up these trucks and stuff like that, and just I've just learned over the years how to identify like 35 to 40 frames. Like, oh yeah, 35/6 has got this wishbone, and then 35's got 16-inch wires, and then 36/39 has wide 5 Ford wheels, and so on and so forth. Just so I've got a ton of useless knowledge in here, and like I'll be just stumbling across stuff, and like my friends will be like, how do you know? Because a lot of these frames got made into like hay wagons, and so they're always like, why are you crawling under that hay wagon? You don't have cows or anything. And I'm just like, trying to, it's always Ford axle, so I'm underneath looking at it and stuff. And even guys, older, like my dad, when I graduated high school, he's like basically said like, you know more about those early Fords than I do. So I mean, props to you. But so I just kind of wanted to show, just share all that information. And that video was a giant flop. I was like, well, we won't be doing that anymore, guys. But it was super easy to shoot because I had all this garbage around. So I just like went and walked around the yard, and it took me like a half hour to shoot it. It was all just, it sounded like it took me 2 whole days to get a car running or whatever. But yeah, so you just tell me what international truck you want, Grant, because my uncle still runs a truck shop across the street. And there's trucks everywhere, and you can pick them up just dirt cheap around here because, I mean, trucks in general, like tandem axle trucks even, are like a thing of the past. Everybody's got semis, for agricultural use around here. So these trucks are getting pretty cheap, and then we can just throw like a bunch of Model A parts in the back of it. And you could film your ride home with these square old bias ply tires and your 5-gallon gas can to keep you going. I mean, which on that note, everybody, don't be a wank. Fill your tank.
Oh shit!
Wait,
come on! This is a family program, Jason.
Whoops, sorry.
I'm actually impressed we made it 24 minutes in.
I was just going to say that I can't believe we made it 25 minutes into this live stream, and you're now just making fun of me for running out of gas. So, you had mentioned it yourself there about the about your knowledge, and sometimes it's useless knowledge, and this and that. And that is one thing that kind of impresses me. Like back before, so I'm old enough to remember back when Google wasn't a thing. And you could baffle your friends with BS with how much you knew about certain vehicles, whether it be square bodies, Chevelles, Mustangs, or whatever. But nowadays, with the advent of the internet, everybody's an expert, and some people can pull it off and some people can't. But like, I am just amazed by how detailed you can get when you're looking. You're going on these field blocks. And you're like, oh, that's a 63. No, that's a 64 because it's got the this on the grill or the that on the windshield or whatever. And like, so where does that knowledge come from? I mean, you're younger than I am, and you're just winging off all this stuff about every single model is different. Like, how does it? Like, what's going on up there?
So, like, my dad or my grandpa was like into the brass era Ford stuff, like the Model Ts and A's, and then like finally my dad had two brothers, and they were hot rodders, and they finally like converted grandpa over to doing hot rods. So I remember him having a hat. He had two hats that said, one that said, "This is Chevy country where you can hear Fords rusting," and the other one said, "Nothing runs like Duff, we got company." I don't know who that is. Oh, it's Ryan. And then the other one said, "Nothing runs like an old Ford with a Chevy motor in it." So there was that, and yeah, he was just, you get him, stick him, bite him in the balls. But
I was just gonna say we weren't sure how we were gonna incorporate Duff into the episode, so we appreciate him taking the lead on this.
He's in trouble. He just had to get a bath for rolling in the deer poopy. But I don't know if I got a door opener to let you in. Hold that thought.
The show must go on.
So, Jason, you got some jokes for me, or?
Well, I did just notice in the chat that King Eric the Great had typed in there #GotGas, and I said, "What a great idea for a T-shirt at some point." So.
Well, while we're talking about T-shirts, I guess we should just take the moment to, if you want to help Jason out, go pick you up one of these tees.
And if you want to help Grant out, you can head over to his Spreadshirt and pick up one of these.
All right, so where were we, Tom?
The life of being a YouTuber. Oh, how do I know this stuff? So my grandpa was like into the brass era Fords, so like the teens era Fords and like the Model Ts and kind of the A's and stuff. And then like my Uncle Jerry, he was into like the flathead Fords and like the Chevy Nomads and the 50s stuff. And then my dad and my other uncle were kind of into like the Chevelles and the Camaros and stuff like that. And then then my dad kind of gravitated to the early Ford hot rods and stuff like that. And then now I've come along and I did an LS swap in my uncle's 55 Chevy wagon. And then I've got a LS Ford and a 49 Ford back here pickup. And then, I just kind of brought it all together. Unfortunately, most of like the Chevelle and the muscle car stuff was gone by the time that I came around. Like I remember seeing pictures of me, but around that stuff. But it's just, and that's why I don't have it on my channel, because that stuff is like unattainable. Like I can't find a 68 to 72 Chevelle in the weeds. And then the cars that I need to bring home to make these revival videos have to be 85, 90% complete or more. And to find those cars that aren't just complete basket cases or aren't $18,000 is really hard. But so just like I said, that's how I grew up, was going to auction sales with my grandpa, and he knew all the early stuff. And then, my dad and my uncle were into the later stuff. And some people have boats and golf carts and whatever. And I have a pickup and a trailer, and I just go buy garbage. So, that's my thing. If I had to build a birdhouse, I don't think I could do it. But, if I needed to rebuild a 6-volt Ford generator on a Y block on the side of the road, we might have a chance.
So I call him our Southern Hemisphere Jason from Streetcar Culture. He says, because he's a big Mazda guy, he says we need a rotary revival. So Tom, if you can find a rusty rotary engine somewhere and revive that, I think you'll probably break the internet.
You know, there's just stuff that people want to see you be miserable. You know, that's part of this. Like, that's why they watch this. They're like, look at this guy. You know, he could have just went and bought a 55 Chevy at this car show, but no, he's out there dragging one out of the weeds. And then they're like, you know, like Chevy Vegas and rotaries and, you know, stuff that wasn't any good when they were new. And then like Chevy Loves and stuff like that. They're like, hey, you should go fix one of those up. It's like, Yugo. If I had a nickel for every time somebody mentioned a Yugo in a live chat, or guys are like, "Oh, you should do an Australian car." It's like, well, I'm not in Australia. Like, there's some Jaguars and BMWs and stuff like that around, but there's no Holdens or just Utes around here. I mean, I don't know how those ever ended up here. I've seen them at car shows, but I mean, if I see a Yugo or a Holden or a Ute, I'm buying that thing. I'm paying full market value to pick it up just for content. I will break the internet with the Yugo.
Well, you may or may not have lost a subscriber if he was subscribed to you there with that comment about the rotary. But nevertheless, I think he's got broad shoulders, so he'll get over it. One thing that, you know, one thing Grant and I always have in common, or we talk about a lot, is odd bodies as far as vehicles go. So, like, you know, he's doing the Fairmont.
I was going to say women. Sorry.
No, we're leaving that off the table tonight. But
yeah, that's an underground live stream for like. I mean, go ahead, Jason.
That's on your Only Flex Fans site.
Only SixFans, yeah.
No, only Flex Fans.
Flex Fans, there you go.
Oh, SixFans, yeah. All six of them.
All SixFans, yep. So we talk about odd body cars is what we're relating to, and these are just basically like a little bit sidestepped from the norm. So Fairmont being a Fox body, or a Cordoba being a B body. It's not a Charger, you know, or anything like that. One of the things that we see on your channel a lot is just the real different stuff. So yeah, it might be an Impala, but it's not the popular ones. You know, it's not the 62 3s or 4s. It's not the 67 Chevelles. It might be a Buick or an Oldsmobile, or it might even be a Monica, you know, that you just pull out of the weeds somewhere that's just not there. That's what I appreciate about your channel because, you know, to be honest, like you said earlier, you're not going to go out and you're not going to find those 62 3 Chevelles together.
Because they didn't make them in 62 or 3, but anyway.
Whatever. Impalas, sorry. You're not going to find those generally in a complete fashion because if they were any good at all, someone's already got it, right? So when you go looking for vehicles, are you specific on what you're looking for, or is it just whatever comes about?
So before the channel started, you know, I was probably, I mean, I don't like the term jockey, but you know, that's what pays the bills, you know? And so like anything I could make a buck on, like I did a lot of like 99 to 06 GM pickups because they were hot. I could part them out. Guys knew how to fix them. And, you know, I'd sell that. I would basically get, so I'd make a couple bucks and I'd end up with a free LS sitting in the corner. But, you know, but since the channel started, you know, then it's like, I'm looking for something to revive and, you know, it's got to be relatively complete. And, you know, GMs are, I wouldn't say are my wheelhouse, but I mean, they're just, I've got parts for them. Parts are available and they just work. But you take like that Monaco, and I thought that video was not that good of a video. I didn't think the car was that good, but it was like the cheapest thing on that auction. And I'm like, we're coming home with it. And that video has done extremely well. And then like the Studebaker video and the 59 Plymouth and the cab over Peterbilt was just like, we're just winging it, drinking beer. It's like, he's like, yeah, I got a guy coming to pick up that Peterbilt, you know, next week or whatever. And I was like, we should get that running before you get rid of it, you know? And so we got it running, and that video's like 200,000 views or whatever, you know? But the odd stuff is what gets views, you know? Like I thought when I started it and we did like Chin's video and we got like 5,000 views on lowering that square body. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then like you know, once I got bigger, I did a revival on like that 76 GMC that we got out, and the square body stuff is like, they're everywhere. Everybody can do them. But like this, like the Studebakers and the rotaries. Guys like the weird oddball stuff. And like a lot of these revivals that get big hits are like the payloaders and the huge equipment, just because people are like, not used to it, and it's different. But we don't have that. We got tractors around here, and I don't want to get into tractors.
Well, this whole line of conversation fits right in with, that's my mission on my channel, Offbeat Hot Rodding, is just what you're talking about, Tom. That it's, if you want so my story is I've always wanted a project car, but I always put paying things off in front of getting a project car. And once I got done with that, I still, found myself making up excuses. And it's I want people just find the hobby of hot rodding relatable, just jump in. And to your point, don't sit around waiting around for the rust-free 69 Camaro, because it doesn't exist, right? So the offbeat hot rodding is finding the complete car that's actually been kept in pretty good shape, because it's kind of a nondescript car, and it's, grandma's had it and only put 68,000 miles on the Fairmont, right? And it's $1,800. So what would you say is kind of market rich, or things you seem to run across most often that's, for whatever reason, seem to be plentiful and in the best shape?
I don't know if you've seen the stuff that I bring, but there's really nothing that's in good shape. Nothing's that good. Plentiful, like those two grain trucks that I brought back, 47 to 53 Chevy in 54 and early 5. The advanced designs, the pickups are really hot, but they're getting harder to find because everybody's doing their S10 chassis swaps, and so that's kind of bringing up prices on them. And they're 70 years old, so they're getting kind of stripped out. But grain trucks, those two that I revived last year, I would say that those things are usually good shape, because grain trucks, they sit this high off the ground, so they're high and dry. They usually got shedded. They never got driven except for in the spring and the fall for harvest, and then maybe to haul a load of cattle or hogs or whatever to town is. So they're if you got one with 60, 70,000 miles, that's a ton of miles on it. And they, got driven into a shed, once in a while. So they weren't driving into a garage every day, and they were out in the wide open. So they aren't rusty. They aren't smashed up. But what do you do with a 47 Chevy truck when you're done? Tires and brakes are it costs you $3,000 to put tires on the thing. And then you got something that goes 50 miles an hour, and the brakes are subpar at best.
I've driven enough wheat trucks. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right. Brakes is an option on trucks.
That's the tune-up always started with, it was the running lights and the brakes on the farm. And
lights?
Carburetor.
You guys had lights? Headlights. I can see if you had two headlights, you were doing good. One was, you're getting it done.
Oh no, it was just
on the
running
back
lights. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I suppose they're slow enough that people had to see them to get around you.
Well, we're coming up to the point in the show where we start opening up the chat to questions for Tom. So, guys, if you have any questions for him, type them in there. We'll try and get to as many as we can in the time that we have. So go ahead and leave your questions now. Also, Tom, one thing we'd like to talk about on the show is upcoming videos that might be happening on the channel. Do you have anything you want to share with us for something that might be coming up in the near future?
Like I said, I'm usually pretty hush-hush about what I got going on. But, yeah, I got that 60 Ford Ranch wagon that everybody's been hounding me about is coming out on Monday. And then, obviously I'm working on this 37 Ford truck here tonight. But my videos are usually minimum of 3 weeks out, because by the time I get everything put together and wrapped up and waiting on parts, and then I've got other stuff that I got to run in and out of here to pay the bills. So yeah, that one. And I think there's an 80 Camaro after this one. And I don't know what else is in there. It's hard keeping track of everything.
And how about you, Grant? You got something coming up on Straight SixFan?
Yeah, so I have an interesting weekend planned. It can go one of two ways. And I'll just say, no matter what, it's not going to be Fairmont content, but there might be the old 95 Ford F-150 might be making another another appearance on my channel. But some things have to fall in place on that one.
Yeah, and tomorrow's video on old car guy, we've got trying to get the AC fixed on old Blackjack. Hauled it into the shop, and somebody said, well, why would you even bother with that? Because you're not going to be driving it in the summertime. And although that's true, there's a lot of guys out there still asking for Panther platform content. And well, I got 2 of them. That means there's lots of content to be had. So we did have a comment or a question come in, Tom, about how do you grow such good facial hair?
It's believe it or not, it's natural, but yeah, I don't know. I guess genetics, maybe. That's Chin right there. He's just got a terrible Caucasian name that half the country has, you know. I mean, he's right behind Mike Smith is the most common name in the world, but it's because if you look at his facial hair in that picture, he's just got that's why we call him Chin. It's short for chin strap because he's got that crappy neck beard that just kind of wraps around. I don't know. He looks like a doofus, but apparently that's what his wife digs.
Usually the facial hair is a direct reflection on the amount of hair on the top of the head. So that's why you're usually wearing a ball cap, I'm guessing.
Exactly.
Queen Dee says, did you have gas station sushi today?
That's how I start off every day, Danny. You know, I just grab some gas station sushi, and, you know, that's what gets me going for breakfast. Breakfast of champions right there.
CP, the Tool Addict, is saying, Mortske meetup, sandwich social Sunday?
I think so. I know I talked to DD Speed Shop about this a lot, you know, getting the borders open, because there's a lot of you guys up there that I'd like to see, and then just things to go, you know, open up in general. You know, I usually go to Back to the 50s, a pretty big car show in Minneapolis, and that's been postponed till 2022. It's like, wow, you guys called it canceled last year, but we're calling it postponed this year, you know, so just to see stuff like that open up. But yeah, I'm down for a sandwich meetup. Yeah, and basically goes along the same with Redneck Rider 69 saying the same thing, you know, to come back to Canada, grace us with your presence. Roy Marco, who, by the way, I think you've got his beer koozie there on your sandwich. Best thing about being a YouTuber. What is your best thing about being a YouTuber? Oh, it's just the great amount of how can I put this? You know, just the positive folks that just comment on your videos on how you should do things the right way and better, and you know, you need to change oil on this stuff and this and that, and it's like, do I mean, got you to watch it.
Yeah, that's right. Glutton says, what's the word on the Blazers? Duff's chomping at the bit.
So I can't keep everything. So like the 76 K5 Blazer, I got that thing listed online, and we could do a whole video on just dealing with people on Facebook Marketplace or whatever those things are that respond to you. Is this still available?
Be a good one. Yeah.
But that 76 is kind of a runner driver. You know, it needs tires and everything, but you could drive it home. Maybe. But I got that listed for like $1,750, which I think is a steal. And I get people like, hey, I got a jet ski that doesn't have a title and the engine's blown up and there's a hole in it and I don't have the trailer. You want to trade straight up? And I'm like, nope. But and then the 2-wheel drive Blazer is just kind of sitting there how like you guys saw it, and I'm like, I got some parts to lower that, and I got a front bumper and been rounding up like a dash pad, and I got some seats for it. So that one will be back because I kind of want to keep that one because I'm into it for pretty much nothing. And I've wanted a 2-wheel drive Blazer.
My favorite when you get the trade ask is I always like to fire back, well, I'll trade for cash if you're interested. It's usually just exactly what I send back. But Darren's Mopar Express asked, did Mortske find Duff or did Duff find Mortske?
So the funny thing about Duff is he's a Brittany Spaniel, and I grew up with Springer Spaniels. That's what my dad has always had and still does have. And I travel a fair amount for work. Well, pre-COVID, I traveled a fair amount for work. And my college roommate's sister was like, hey, there's this dog here. This family can't keep it. And I'm just like, I don't have time for a dog. So sorry. And they're like, well, and they're 5.5 hours away. They're like, well, we're driving it up that weekend. I'm like, I have a softball tournament. I won't be around. Where's the softball tournament off? We'll just drop it off. So Duff's like, he's like a 2-year-old rescue dog. And I'm like, I'll find somebody to take him. And his name was Jude when I got him. And I mean, I love the Beatles, but I got sick of yelling, "Hey Jude" all the time. So I named him after the family that owned the bar in this tiny little town that I play softball at. So he's Duffy. Now everybody just pretty much calls him Duff. But so yeah, that's kind of the story. Duff's a rescue dog, and I just got him, and I'm like, "You're freaking awesome. Do you want to be my best friend and practice karate in the garage?" And he was like, "Yep." And here we are. He's sleeping on a bench seat somewhere back there, probably licking himself. But anyhow.
Well, Tom, we'll send you out with one more question before we probably close out season 5 here. So thanks again for agreeing to spend some time with us knuckleheads. But one of the things we usually like to okay, Mr. Poutine.
Is that the cat's name? Mr. Poutine?
No, but that was a great cat's name. What was I even gonna ask? No, we always try to, since we attract small automotive YouTubers in our niche, and we're always trying to figure out how to grow yourself and how to become a better YouTuber. What would you say as you reflect back on your journey, your 14-month or whatever it's been excursion here? What's maybe one thing you wish you would have known sooner that you didn't?
Oh man, Chin can probably chime in on this one. What he thinks. He does. We kind of started. He did the first editing, and then we kind of split it. And now he just does it all, and I just kind of crank stuff out. But I mean, I couldn't do it without him. So he might have some feedback on what we would know. But I guess kind of unrelated. But two of the things I would say is find somebody. Like you guys have found each other, and you guys kind of bounce questions off each other. Jason, that's kind of how I met him. He bounced a question off me, but like it helps with Zach, to like bounce questions off him. And he's watching different channels than I'm watching. He's like, hey, this guy's doing this. Maybe you should, put a camera on the tailpipe when he started out. And this guy does it where he, shows his foot on the gas or the ignition switch when he starts it and stuff like that. So just the more people you can get involved to like help you out, or just to have, review your videos and stuff like that. And then the other thing is, I don't know if it was on your guys' show, but somebody's show, make sure whatever content you're making is something that you would want to watch. Like if, it's hard watching yourself, but if you're watching your own video and you're like fast forwarding through it, that's what the guy is going to do on the other end, or gal, whoever's watching your video. But one thing that I would have learned, just jump into it and get rolling. That's the biggest thing. Like we spent so much time on setting cameras up and buying GoPros or whatever. And it's like, just take your phone or get an old phone and just start filming. And if your sound quality sucks, then, start looking into your sound quality and just get it out there and start. I mean, I think I've probably seen it on your guys' show too, but your first video doesn't have to be perfect, and it's not going to be perfect. Just strive for perfection. By all means, don't just wing it, but, get out there and do it. I don't know how many people that I've talked to since then. They're like, yeah, I'm going to start a channel, and they buy all this equipment and they never turn it on or film it. You just got to pick away at it one piece at a time, like Johnny Cash says.
Yeah. And, speaking of that one time that I reached out to Tom is I sent him my channel. I said, hey, listen, I've got broad shoulders. Tell me what you think. Let me know what I might be able to do to help. And, I think if I go back, his exact words were loosen up, and one thing that I find myself doing, and even Lucas told me that a lot, is, try not to be the professor standing in front of the camera trying to teach. Just be you. And I have a hard time turning that off and being just me, because I think the real me is boring, but maybe the camera me is more boring than what I really am. I don't know, but at the end of the day, we're all trying to do our own thing. We're all trying to navigate through this whole thing and learn what's working for us and what's not. And by George, I think Tom's found what's working for him. Obviously, he's got a pretty good following. He's got some really big fans out there, and he's got some really big fans that love to pick him apart too in the comments. So if you don't know, and this is your first time here and you're watching this after the replay, you don't know who Mortske Repair is, we're going to make sure that there's a link down in the description box below that you can head over there, check them out. We guarantee you won't be disappointed in the entertainment value over there on Mortske Repair. Any last things that you want to throw out there, Grant, as we kind of bring season 5 to a close?
Well, yeah, as we do bring season 5 to a close, just a reminder, if you guys, I know a lot of you are disappointed that you're not going to have this next Thursday, but just put on your calendar the first Thursday after the 4th of July. That's the pretty easy way to remember. First Thursday after the 4th of July and first Thursday after the New Year is basically when we start up our season. So Jason and I, the show's been becoming so popular, people are starting to reach out to us now to become guests. So but that's
really,
yeah, that's,
like real people.
Well, we've been catfished like 7 times.
They're like fake emails because they
was
just never
real.
reply.
Yeah, right. Matthew McConaughey. I mean, he's just wants to be on the show. He's a car guy. Jay Leno. We couldn't fit him in this season, but.
Well, the funny thing is we reached out to Jay Leno last season, and of course, when you reach out to these people, all you get is their marketing people, whatever, and they get the standard reply back, right? So nobody wants to deal with guys like us, like that.
Our local newspaper. So like, there's probably 3,000 people in my entire county, and they reached out to me, and they're like, somebody I don't know, they were really hard up, and Chin and I made it on the front page of the weekly newspaper. But anyway, they're like, hey, would you be interested in doing an interview? And me being the wisecrack that I am, like, yeah, I'm going to have to talk to my marketing agent. And the lady was like really nice, like, oh yeah, no problem. Just get back to us. I'm just like, oh man, no. Yeah, I'll do your interview.
Well, one of the things that we always like to do is encourage you guys to reach out to us on Instagram, Facebook, wherever you can find us, and let us know who you would like to see as guests on our show for season 6. And we'll try and do our best to get those guys coming. Tom, we really appreciate you being a part of our show. It's great to have you over here. It's been some comic relief. We've had some fun tonight and gotten to know you a little bit better. And I hope you appreciate the fact that we actually might think you're something or something.
No, I had a good time. Like I said, I've been watching you guys' stuff for quite a while, and I do like the aspect of, I've taken a lot of pointers from what you guys have on the guests on the show, and you guys get a good variety, and it's kind of something different every week. So I appreciate you guys putting this together and reaching out to us. And, on a suggestion, I would say that you should ask Puddin', but if you take a drink every time he drops a curse word, people would be lit by the end of you guys' 40-minute show. So you probably don't want to reach out to that guy.
That was quite entertaining. Did catch some of that, but Jason, why don't you just take us on home here?
All right, yeah, that's we basically pretty well said our thanks and whatever. Grant, thank you for another great season. It's been great to pull off another CarrGuy and SixFan show. We've been doing this for quite a while now. We seem to be getting the hang of it, and hopefully it'll just continue to grow. And like you said, maybe more and more people will start reaching out and want to be a part of it. So thanks to everybody in the chat, everybody that's watching this after the fact. We appreciate you guys, because without you guys being there, we wouldn't be doing this simply. We did not break our 100 people in the chat. I think we get up to 46 or 7 there at one point in time. But nevertheless, we had fun doing it. With all that being said, guys, thanks for a great season. We will see you guys in July on the CarrGuy and SixFan show. Take care.